Hi, this is the walk and run tutorial part 2. When we left off, you were tasked with putting each of these little characters over top of your character so that each one of these represents a pose and which frame the pose would be on. So on frame 1, it's this pose. Frame 4 is this, 7, 10, 13, and so forth. And actually, this last one here, this is going to be a copy of the keyframes that you create on frame 1, and we'll get to that. I'll just show a couple of these as a demonstration, and so that I can give you tips on how to get your poses right. But I won't be showing every single pose through the whole lesson. That wouldn't really be a productive use of your time or my time. So go to frame 1 and then click on the top bone level of your character. You'll want to zoom in on your character nice and close and click on the Manipulate Bone tool. As I mentioned before, the proportions are not going to match up perfectly with your character and this model, right? So you just have to also pay attention to the positioning of the legs and the arms and the body. You also want to make sure that you're grabbing the correct leg from your character to match up with the pose of the legs and the arms. So for example, with this pose, I know that I need the front leg to be stretched out far forward and this foot pointing up. First, I want to work with the target bone. All right, so I grab that target bone on the leg and stretch it out and then point the foot up. And then I'll work on the back leg positioning by clicking first on the target bone to pull that back. Point the toe. The reason why mine's high is because this whole character actually has to go down, right? So I'm clicking on the control bone for the body, and I'm going to hold my shift key down so that the body goes straight down. I don't want to get it off position. Once I pull down, then perhaps I can match up the head here. And then I can see that I'll have to make some adjustments again on that leg and on this leg. And I'm using that target bone to do that. You can also then make any other adjustments you feel like you need to with the other bones in the legs. And then position the arms, remembering that arms swing in the opposite direction of the leg. So in this case, my front leg is forward, so the front arm is the one that will be back here. So I'll just set that up. And then my back arm needs to be a little bit forward like that. Now, one thing that's good to do is you can toggle the eyeballs for both the picture of the pose or your character so that you're sure about what's going on. I might look at this and think, well, she doesn't look very stable right now, and maybe I need to make some adjustments with her leg or toes or feet, right? Because this character actually has a bend in the toes, which mine does not accommodate. So maybe I need to have it so that this toe here is touching down a little bit more firmly on the ground, and maybe this leg needs to not be quite so far back. Okay, so you do have to look at those little adjustments. Again, the pictures are a guide, but you have to use your common sense. Make sure your character doesn't look like it's floating. Also in the picture, this body is ever so slightly bent forward. So I'm going to actually turn off that picture so I have a much better view of my character, and I'll just put the slightest bend forward on her. It's all about fine-tuning at this point. And incidentally, I have tried this with auto freeze keys on and off, okay, in this box. And there is a difference. I think it makes the most difference for when you have to go back and make adjustments. If you went all through the poses and then you decided to make some changes going backwards, then you might notice a little bit more of a problem if you leave the auto freeze keys on the entire time you're setting up the poses. But I did fine with it either way. So I'm going to leave it on. Now I'm not 100% happy with this pose, but for the purpose of this video, we're going to move on and we'll say that's great and then go to frame 4. All right. And so all then you'll do is create the next pose. Again, paying close attention to which leg on this figure is where. So this is still the front leg of this figure, and I'll grab this foot, this leg with the target bone first, and then grab this target bone and adjust the toe. And it looks like maybe the character isn't leaning so far forward anymore. It's gone slightly back. And it's even lower now. So I'll click on my control bone for the body, hold Shift key down, and move the character down even a little bit more to match up where I'm seeing the top of the head on that figure. Which means, of course, a little more adjustments are needed. This toe is actually touching way down there. And this one's not too bad. And I might want to have a look at my figure. Okay. So maybe that needs to be pointed a little bit more. So now you can even see the benefit of putting an extra bone in there for toes if you're going to do a walk and run cycle. So I don't have that luxury. I have to just do the best I can with these boots. That said, I could go back if I wanted to and add a bone into the feet there, into those boots, and work that out. But I'm not going to. This is just so that you can see how to go through the process. Okay, I've turned the figures back on again. So remember that if it looks like the whole figure is kind of squashed down, then use the control bone, hold your Shift key down, squash your character down, readjust your legs, readjust the toes. Now, you won't do anything with the arms again until you get to, here, let me click on this character a moment. So on frame 13, you'll switch the character's arms. Okay, you don't need to do anything with them until frame 13, but don't forget to do it at that point. Then when you continue and you are at frame 25, frame 25 is actually going to be a copy of all the keyframes from frame 1. Don't try to reposition it, or else the looping, the cycling, won't work. It'll look bad. So when you get to frame 25, don't really do this pose. Just go back to frame 1, select all the keyframes from your character. Don't select, the keyframes from the layer that I'm on right now, right? You click on your character, select all those frame 1 keyframes and copy, and then go back to frame 25 and paste. So do all of your poses, copy frame 1 to frame 25. I'll resume in the next video, but have that ready.